Alright, I just woke up, so if I sound out of it, that's why. We're gonna go over inventory management and moving and getting your first quest. So open up your inventory by hitting I. The first thing you're gonna see is your weapon and shield, which are what's in your right and left hand. So the first two things you're gonna see in your inventory are always gonna be what you're holding. The next several things are just gonna be your clothes. Most of the time your adventure is going to start with clothes instead of armor, but if you start with something made out of leather, for example, we're wearing a cuttlefish leather robe. Robes and certain other types of clothing will cover up most of the body, and if it's made out of leather, that's more protective than cloth. So we kind of lucked out by getting a leather robe here because that'll cover up most of the body. After the clothes, you'll have some sort of water skin, also made out of leather. So that's going to hold 3 units of water, but we don't have to really worry about eating yet. And then you're going to have a backpack, which is filled with food, and then a copper dagger. So that's the inventory. Now, luckily for us, we spawned in a room with a bunch of equipment and a bed and a chair, it looks like, in a bag. So I'm gonna assume, just building some backstory here, that our guy is like a town guard, and that's the reason he has access to so many things early on. So to move around, you're just gonna use your arrow keys. It's a fairly standard so far. I mean, like, sometimes I'll accidentally press WASD just because I'm used to that, but it's just arrow keys to move around. So you're gonna move around and just kind of explore the room with the arrow keys. Now, if you want to look at something, for example, right underneath my character there's some sort of armor piece, but I'm not sure what it is. You're going to hit the L key. L stands for look. As soon as you hit the L key, it'll tell you what you're looking at, and then it's the same thing. In order to look around, you just use the arrow keys. So right now, the L key, which hasn't been moved, is defaulting onto us. So we see Asri Bestrarodo, the axeman, which makes sense because that's us and we're standing where we're looking. We also see red sand and a track. Track would be like footprints, but it's unintelligible even though it's really just us, so that's important to know. But once you start moving down, you can see that there's horse leather armor right next to us, and we're just going to start doing this around the room to see what equipment there is. There's a silver battle axe, that's not too bad. There's a longfin mako shark leather cloak, copper short sword, a copper pike, more leather equipment, leather hood again. There's a chest, some boots, leather turban, mittens, silver warhammer, which is actually a very good a piece of equipment if you're playing a hammerman, but we're playing an axeman, so that's not really too good. Silver longsword, silver flail is actually really good if you're playing a maceman. But other than that, okay, silver halberd. That is something we actually want. Now, axeman, and I probably should have covered this in the episode where I was talking about character creation. Certain weapon types are obviously gonna be better for certain things. Axes are pretty much good all around. They're good at chopping organic creatures, which means like animals and monsters. And when I say monsters, I'm not talking about forbidden beasts. You can get forbidden beasts that are just like giant parrots that breathe fire, which aren't too difficult to kill except for the whole breathing fire part. But sometimes you can get forbidden beasts that are just like humanoids made out of iron or something. So in that case, blunt weapons like maces and hammers would be better. Usually maces and hammers are going to be your best bet for breaking bones and going through armor. Swords are good too because they let you slash and stab, so you have 2 types of attacks there. And for example, if you're playing a spearman, like I was playing a spearman in my Dwarf Fortress adventure campaign, the one that's on YouTube, shameless plug, but you could see that almost every time I stab someone with my spear, it would get lodged, and I would have to like take a step back and unlodge it, which can be fairly annoying. So the nice thing about swords is that you have an option to slash. And like I said, axes are kind of good all around, so let's move up to that silver halberd by using our arrow keys, and then once you get up to it, you're going to hit G for pickup. Or it's technically get, if you want to think about it like that. A lot of the keys in adventure mode and fortress mode are kind of intuitive to what they mean. For example, in fortress mode, pressing lowercase d stands for designate, and then you would just hit D again to mine, or to dig. So in my mind, G means pick up, but if you want to think about it, G means get. So if you ever get something, you hit G. So we're going to get this silver halberd, and that's going to put it in its backpack, in our backpack, I should say. So you can see here, it's in our backpack now. Now, oh, I accidentally hit E. We don't want to do that. Now, this is where the inventory system becomes kind of finicky, because there's no, like, equip key. When you hit E, the option that pops up is eat or drink, right? And if you hit capital E, it doesn't do anything. So maybe someday that'll be something that's implemented. Okay, excuse my dog, but he likes to bark in the morning, which means he's really popular in this neighborhood. But in order to actually equip, because there's no equip key, you're going to have to hit R for remove. And like I was saying, keys are usually fairly natural in what they'll do, so R for remove. So first thing we're going to remove is we're going to remove the thing we just picked up, which is the silver halberd. So you're just going to look at this like key legend that's on the side and hit R for silver halberd. So that'll take out the silver halberd. So that takes it out of our backpack and puts it straight into like our inventory, which is a kind of weird way to think about it. So then you're going to hit D to drop. So here you can see we have our list of stuff that we can drop. So we're going to, again, keys are fairly natural, D to drop. So you're going to drop the silver halberd. And then we're just going to keep dropping our equipment. We're going to drop the bronze great axe. And then we're going to go back to the silver halberd and we're going to press G and we're going to get the silver halberd. And you can see here on the bottom it says you pick up the silver halberd with your right hand. So when it says it like that, because it's not in our inventory anymore, it's actually equipped. So you can see now, oh, this is another thing. Q will let you sheath and unsheath your equipment, but you can see here when we press Q to, again, sheath and unsheath our equipment, it'll say you draw the silver halberd in your right hand and you draw the bronze shield with your left hand. So this now means that it's in our inventory. So now we're just gonna kind of do the same thing. We're gonna draw, oh, well, again, you have to remove all the equipment that you're wearing. So we're gonna remove the sandals that we're wearing because there's a fairly nice pair of leather boots. And like I was saying before, your leather material is gonna be what kind of protects you the best, especially this early on. So again, just to review on how to pick up items, I'm gonna actually need to find these boots again. Okay, here they are. And these are actually made out of great white shark leather, so this is kind of badass. Not really though, it's a text-based game. Chill out, dude. So we're gonna pick up the great white leather boot, and it'll put it in our backpack for some reason. Ah yes, in my infinite wisdom, I forgot that there's a wear key. Of course. So, for weapons, there isn't a wear key, but for clothes and stuff, there is. Let me just confirm that real quick by picking up this bronze great axe again and seeing, yep, okay. So when you want to pick up weapons and shields, you have to do the convoluted thing where you drop everything. But for clothes, you can just hit W and, again, because the keys are natural, wear. So we're going to put on these boots, and then if you go into our inventory, you can see we're now wearing the boots. Oh, and we have to drop this bronze great axe again. Let's keep doing the same thing. I believe this was a pair of leather armor. Or it's actually a cloak. So if you have a cloak, that's really good. Try to find a cloak sometime in your adventure because that'll double up on the amount of armor you're wearing on your body. Cloaks are almost as protective as just regular armor. So just go around the room, and if you find any clothes you want to wear, just go ahead and start equipping them. Which you should. This is a good way to equip your character. And again, just walking around pressing G. Oh yeah, but I was talking about cloaks. And you can wear a cloak. You can actually wear two cloaks in adventure mode if I remember correctly. Actually no, I'm lying. You can wear, in fortress mode, you can set your soldiers to wear two cloaks and a piece of armor. And actually two mail shirts too, but that's kind of pointless to what I'm talking about. So in Dwarf Fortress, there's a coverage guide that explains how much equipment you can wear. Basically, and like what it covers up, a cloak and armor pretty much cover up the same amount of like your body, but you can wear a cloak and a piece of armor at the same time, so you're almost getting double the protection by wearing both a cloak and a piece of armor. So now if you go back into our inventory, you can see we're actually fairly well prepared. We got a leather brace, which I'm still not sure what that is. We got 2 leather brace. I'm gonna actually just Google this real quick to see what the hell a brace is. It's a type of trouser worn by Celtic or Germanic tribes in antiquity and by Europeans subsequently in European Middle Ages. In the later Middle Ages, they were used exclusively as undergarments. They usually are hung to the knees or mid-calf. Okay, so they're just shorts. So there you go, we're wearing shorts, and then underneath our pairs of shorts, because we have 2 pairs of shorts, we're wearing trousers. We got a nice alpaca wool dress. If you see that your guy's wearing a dress, don't be too concerned. Think about him as like being a badass Roman. Dwarf Fortress doesn't really have conventional, like gender-based dressing code, so it's not unusual that a male will wear a dress. We got our cuttlefish leather robe, we got a rope reed fiber face veil, we got a sea otter leather turban, we got our 2 leather gloves, we got our horse armor, and you can see it'll just go off the screen. So if you want to scroll between the screens, you hit the asterisk key. So you hit asterisk and you hit the backslash key in order to scroll through screens. So you hit asterisk to continue the screen, or to progress the screen, I should say, and then you hit the backslash right underneath the question mark. I'm pretty sure that's a backslash, and that'll bring you back to where you are. So we're actually fairly well covered up in considering all things. We're wearing a lot of clothing here, so our adventure is fairly well equipped. I don't like the fact that he's wearing a face veil though, so we're going to remove the face veil. Just because that's kind of weird. I want our character to become famous, so why try to hide our identity? Okay, so I've talked for like 15 minutes already on just how to equip your character, so let's actually get out of the building that we're in. Just use the arrow keys and just make your way out of the door, and then as soon as you make your way out of the door, if your world looks anything like mine, you'll see a small settlement. So again, all of these buildings you can just go into. This appears to be some sort of warehouse because there's a bunch of figurines and crowns and things like that. Ooh, there's a bunch of gems here. So you can just kind of explore what's going on in your town. Oh, here we have something interesting. We have another human axeman. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about conversation and getting companions. So when you want to get a companion, or when you want to talk to someone, you go up to them and you press K. Well, actually, let me go back. You hit K, and that'll bring up the talk key. So the first 2 options are going to be shout out to everybody, and then you'll have a second option that'll let you talk directly to the deity you worship. Now, the deity thing is kind of useless. It's more for like role-playing reasons, and then the shout out to everybody is good if you just want to know what's going on and you're like in a tavern. But again, if you use the arrow keys and scroll up, we can talk to Ari Rakphilipip. Sure. Rakphilipip is a weird last name. And we can talk to him specifically. And then you'll get this menu where it's like basic conversation things. You can greet the listener, you can bypass the greeting. But because we're a nice person, we're going to greet the listener. So then on the bottom left of the screen, there's going to be a conversation that's going on. Our friend Erie says, "It's good to see you traveling alone in the wilds. You know better than that." So we're going to hit K again, and it'll let you start a new conversation if there was someone else in the room. But we're going to go ahead and select continue conversation with Erie the Axeman. And to navigate this menu, you use the plus and minus keys again. So it's the thing that's kind of annoying about Dwarf Fortress is that you start thinking you know how to navigate the menus, but there's menus that use the plus and minus keys, there's menus that use the arrow keys, and then there's menus that use the asterisk and the backslash keys. So just be wary that certain menus will use different mechanics or different keys to progress through them. So we're going to again use the plus and minus keys to scroll through this menu and go ahead and select ongoing conversation with the Axeman. So this is going to kind of go into getting your own quests again. We're going to, and then again you just use plus and minus to scroll through this. But we're going to bring up, or we're going to inquire about any troubles. So you're going to use your plus and minus keys to get to inquire about any troubles. Okay, so he tells us that the town that we're in is having trouble with beasts and skulking vermin. So we're gonna hit K again and ask him about this. We're gonna hit K, go to ongoing conversation, and then we're gonna ask about the beasts. Okay, so in the conversation he's telling us that there's sky cactus in the fields of harmonizing. Seek this place if you hunt Ramak the Teal Shin, the forest titan. So there's a forest titan hunting or not hunting, but I guess like haunting is what I was trying to say. There's a field titan haunting our local town. So we're going to continue going with this ongoing conversation. And once you ask about a beast or a specific instance, it'll bring up this next menu, which will let you ask about directions or the whereabouts to certain things. Or like it'll let you state your opinion. So we can state, oh, it has to be stopped with violent force, it's not our problem, it's for the best if you want to be contrarian. But we're going to ask for the directions to Sky Cactus, and it'll give us a detailed description. We'll come back to that later, actually fairly soon. But we're going to continue with this ongoing conversation with the X-Men, and we're going to scroll down to the point. Man, my words are not being able to form properly today. We're going to ask the listener to join us. Now, usually if you see someone that's a axeman or like a swordsman, they're also an adventurer, so they'll usually just join you right away. And we're going to ask him to join us on an adventure, and he'll agree to travel with us. Okay, so now you can see he's following us and it's all dandy. It's pretty much a companion. So the next thing we're going to bring up is how to access your map. So if you hit Shift and Q, it'll bring up like a local map. So if you've ever played Oblivion, you've seen this before. You can scroll through a bunch of the different menus. E will stand for events, A is agreements, so you can see once you get a companion, there's an agreement between us and our axeman that he'll follow us. There's P for people, will let you see all the people you know. Essentially, this is like a list of people you've talked to. S is for sites. So the sites that we know of are Craft Drive, which is the town we're in, and then Sky Cactus, which is the shrine where the beast kind of lives, I should say. So we'll come back to that. G stands for groups. We know about the Confederation of Races, which is our civilization, and then the League of Earth, which is our government. R is for regions, so this is a bunch of regions that's in the world. We don't really need to worry about that. And then B is for bestiary, I guess. And this is just a list of all the animals we're familiar with. So again, not really too useful at this point. But again, we're going to go back to Q, and you can see this is like a local map, and that's Shift plus Q. But if you hit Shift plus T, oh, we actually can't do that right now because we're carrying someone else's goods, so never mind. So go ahead and hit Q again, and then once you're in this menu, hit S for sites, and then scroll down to the shrine. Well, for us, it's going to be Sky Cactus, which is a shrine. For you, it might be like a lair or a cave or something, and then once you're on this map, go ahead and hit Z for recenter on selected, and it'll show us where this place is. So for us, we're going to have to go a fair distance north past these rivers and such, or past this lake, so it's actually quite a walk, honestly. But we're going to start making our way there. So in order to traverse a town, you just kind of walk, again with the arrow keys. But because we took someone else's goods with the equipment and whatnot, and the river's actually frozen, so we might be able to just cross. If it's winter, rivers will freeze like that, and you'll just be able to kind of cross. One other thing I should mention real quick, but we'll do that once we get further out, so I can actually fast travel. Okay, so you hit Shift and T, so if you use caps lock, it would just be capital T, and this will let you travel. This will bring up a better version of the local map, essentially, and this will let you see the town you're in with a bunch of local attractions. So you can see once you start moving again with the arrow keys, you're actually fast traveling. This is the Dwarf Fortress equivalent of fast traveling. There's no instant fast traveling, but this will let you cover a lot more very quickly. So you can see it'll say what significant structures are here. So there's wells, there's a weaponsmith shop, and houses. And then it'll show a bunch of fields. Fields aren't really considered significant structures, but what you should be looking for is a tavern or a keep. So you'll just move around your town and see if you can find a tavern or a keep. Those are places you'll be able to find soldiers that'll join you on adventures, as well as things or people that'll tell you about quests. So if you don't just want to break into someone's house and ask them if there's a quest you can go on, you can just go into a keep or a tavern. So because we have to fast travel north, we're just going to do that right now. We're going to use the fast travel stuff and just move around. So again, you're just using your arrow keys to traverse the fast travel menu. Not entirely sure where I'm going. Give me one sec. Okay, let's... so to stop fast traveling, you hit D. And I'm just going to check this map again, because this site is all the way up north, but we need to cross this river somehow. Let's hope it's frozen. It's actually not a river, it's an ocean, so this might be a troublesome quest to go on if we can't cross the ocean. But to continue just learning, you can see on the bottom left corner, after you fast travel, your character will become hungry and thirsty. So you hit the E key, and this will bring up a menu of what you want to eat. So you're going to eat, or you're going to eat whatever food you have. So for us, it's prepared cuttlefish. So we're going to eat the cuttlefish, and we're going to drink the water. And then once you have a site that you want to access, you can just try to find it either using the capital T for fast travel, or using the... You can just walk, but like we're technically just walking now, but this is very slow in terms of like traveling the world map. Like very slow. Like very, very slow. And I'm just gonna hit Q again to see how far this site is, because I don't think it's possible to... Yeah, that is a very, very annoying walk to go through, because it's essentially going all the way around. But I'll just use fast travel again to do that, because that's a thing you can do. So we're going to just fast travel, and you can see we're covering a lot of territory very quickly. And then eventually it'll get dark. So when it gets dark, just kind of go into a place that's in the open, and you'll hit capital Z to sleep. It'll ask you how long you want to sleep for, and you can use the plus and minus keys to adjust for 9 hours, 10 hours, or you can hit D, which will just let you sleep until dawn, but we're going to just sleep for about 11 hours, why not? Hopefully it'll be morning by the time we wake up. Okay, this is actually really good that it says we feel uneasy. This will kind of be an intro to combat then. This is going to be a rather long video, but it's a tutorial. So it'll say, if you ever wake up in the middle of the night while you're sleeping and it says you feel uneasy, there's some sort of animal trying to attack you. Once again, interrupted by my dog. But, so it'll say you feel uneasy if you're being attacked, and, ooh, we're being attacked by dingoes. So this is a fairly standard combat encounter in the wilds, because dingoes are kind of a predatory pack animal that'll try to eat you if you're asleep. So in order to initiate combat, you have to be right next to the animals. So in order to attack, you're going to hit Shift and A, so essentially capital A, and it'll tell you a list of all the things that are trying to attack you or are possible for you to attack. So you can see there's a dingo moving north, there's a dingo recovering from attacking us, and then there's a dingo recovering from attacking us with a bite. So we're going to attack the one that just bit us by hitting C, again just following this little legend here, and it'll let us do 3 things. It'll let us dodge an attack, which is kind of pointless because we just blocked it. It'll let us wrestle it, or it'll let us strike it. So because we're using an axe, we might as well strike it. One more thing I forgot to say before we do this. You're going to want to hit S to stand up, usually after you wake up, because when you fall asleep your character is sleeping on the ground. But because this dingo is essentially right on top of us, we're not able to stand. So we're going to again hit A, capital A to attack, or Shift plus A to attack. We're going to hit C to attack this dingo. We're going to hit A to strike it. Now this list will come up. This is a list of every single body part that's on a dingo. So, you know, we all know what a dingo is. It's kind of just like a dog. So it'll let us attack its upper body, its left front leg, its tail. Very, very in-depth. If you're fighting a bird, it'll let you attack its wings. If you're fighting a bug, it'll let you, or if you're fighting a giant spider or something, it'll let you attack all 8 legs. So it's very, very in-depth. And on the left, there's a letter key that shows every single body part. And again, you use the asterisk and the backslash key to scroll through this. And then on the right side, there's essentially it's telling you how easily you can attack. So a normal strike, a tricky strike, difficult strike, easy strike. Okay, so on the first little bit where it says how easy a strike is or if it's tricky or difficult, that's how likely it is to hit. And then on the right, fairly solid, can't land squarely, can only graze. These are all things you'll see on the right side of the hitting menu, I guess you could call this. Obviously, if it says fairly solid, that means it's going to be fairly solid and do some decent damage. So you can see here, attacking the upper body is a normal strike, which means it'll be fairly easy to land, and it'll also do a fair amount of damage. So we're going to aim for the upper body. And then here you can see there's an option of what kind of attack you want to do. So we can strike with our bronze shield, we can slash with our silver halberd, we can stab with our silver halberd. There's a bunch of different things. We can bite the dingo if we want to, we can kick the dingo. But because we're an axeman, we're going to slash him. So we're going to hit B to slash. Again, you're just going to use this key menu, the legend menu with the letters on the left. And we're going to slash the dingo. So once you actually activate your attack, it'll give you this kind of description on the bottom of what happened. So we slashed the dingo in the upper body with our silver halberd, and the injured part is cloven asunder. Artery is opened, and we tore its middle spine. And then it'll say the dingo has been struck down, aka the dingo is dead. So now that we killed that dingo, we're going to hit S to stand up. And we're going to hit Shift and A again to attack. So you can see it'll bring up 2 different options. Whenever you enter the attack menu, it'll bring up the things that are closest to you. So we could technically attack our ally, but before we can do that, it'll make us confirm it by hitting Alt Y. So we don't want to do that because he's our ally. We're gonna hit Shift A again. We're gonna again aim at the dingo. We're gonna strike him using A. We're gonna aim for the upper body because it's a normal strike and it's actually square now. So that's a very good attack. If it says square, it'll do a lot of damage. So we're going to aim for the upper body with a normal strike, square, slash, and we slash the dingo in the upper body with our silver halberd, and the injured part is cloven asunder. And then again, this dingo is going to attack us, so we're going to block with our shield using C, and then it'll bring up another menu that will ask you what you want to block. So we're going to block the bite. And because he's recovering from attacking us, this is a fairly easy strike now. Going to aim for the neck with a slash, and that dingo is now bleeding out because we just pretty much cut its neck. It's regaining balance, which is essentially code. It's like whenever you see regaining balance on an enemy, that's essentially you know you're going to kill it with your next attack. So we're going to stab it in the head, and the severed part sails off in an arc. So we cut its head off with a stab somehow. So that wraps it up for combat. But you can see again, we're hungry and thirsty, so we're going to hit E, and we're going to hit B, which is ice. So overnight our water froze, so let's go ahead and figure out a way to go about that, or get around that. So at any time you can build a campfire. When you do that, you just hit, or to do that I should say, you just hit G and then you select one of these options, one of these directional options to place your campfire. So you can see we make a campfire. And then in order to interact with any object, you hit Shift and I. Now this will bring up a menu of what you want to interact with. Our ice or our water froze, becoming ice. We want to melt that ice. So we're going to hit M to interact with the ice, and the first option it'll come up with is heat ice. Heat 2 units of ice near the campfire. So we want to do that. And then on the bottom it says you heat the ice. So then we're going to hit E again, and now you can see we have water instead of ice. We're going to hit B to drink the water. Last thing I'm going to teach you in this episode, if you can say teach, I feel like I've just covered a bunch of different weird topics, but that's how you learn. You gotta take all these little things and build up. We're going to go up to the dingo and we're going to hit X, which is like your action key. So there's a bunch of different things you can do. You can either hit these keys or you can just use your, like you can either hit C, B, A, and F to activate these keys, but you could just use the arrow keys as well. So we're going to hit B for butcher, and we're going to butcher the dingo mutilated corpse, and then we're going to select our silver halberd as a tool. This will butcher the dingo, which lets us again hit G for get, and then we can pick up all the things from the dingo that we butchered. So we're going to pick up some dingo meat in case we need some food. We're going to pick, it'll ask you how many units you want. Depending on what animal you kill, you'll have more or less meat. Dingoes are fairly decent sized, so we can pick up to 11 units of meat. If you kill an eagle or something, that's only 2. If you kill a rock, which is a giant eagle, it'll be like 500. So here you can see we're just going to pick up 5 just to make sure we have some food. Once you butcher an animal, the meat is considered cured, so you can just eat the meat. You don't have to like heat it or anything, but since we still have cuttlefish, we'll just eat the cuttlefish. And I'm going to call it an episode here because it's been fairly long. The next episode I'll continue going over the quests and things like that. But once you understand how to fast travel, and once you understand how to talk to characters and get quests, and hear rumors and things like that, that's pretty much all you need. So I'll finally find a monster to slay in the next episode. So I'll see you guys then.